Hi and welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with... Now, which order are you going to do it in?
I'm always last, Kieran. Go.
Oh, right. Kieran.
Lee.
Sorry, I didn't want to steal your bit, Lee.
No, it's fine.
This didn't come up in the committee meeting.
No, but everything that did, you can listen to on the Patreon show just for one currency unit a month. I've got a horrible feeling tonight is worth possibly more.
The denomination of your country.
How we all doing? I know we had a week off last week. I fucked my back up, but I'm back. Anything happened to your back or other areas while you were away, Lee?
You mean my anus? No, it's fine. Everything's good. I've had a really good holiday. Tennessee was kind, and I loved all of it. It's been great. I'd like to move there.
Would you ever actually? Would you go over and move?
Genuinely, from that week I had there, if I didn't have a child on island, I would already be putting things in place to move. It was the perfect place for me. It was quiet. It had nice weather. The people were lovely. Yeah, so yeah, I'd move there tomorrow.
You love Dolly Parton.
I don't like country music, if I'm honest, but we can get around that. We can get around it. I can work through it.
Hey, she's got Dave Grohl on a new album, so.
Last time I heard your opinions on Dave Grohl were much stronger than
I'm not so sure about the man.
There's your conspiracy theory this week.
Or is it?
Twice in a day.
No. The last one was that's what they want you to think.
All right. Okay. Well, I mean, there might be different words, but those jokes come out of the same box.
Are you sure you didn't get probed? Right, so we've got a fairly controversial Grand Prix to talk about this week.
Yeah, that was the light-hearted banter compared to what's about to come. Oh, man.
Yeah, well, everyone else was crossing the line, so we had to.
I can. I got bored of looking at people argue with each other on Twitter today about penalties, and it very quickly became an argument of who was the FIA against this week, and it was weird.
I did see somebody comparing F1 Twitter to France yesterday.
Wow. I'll hate that.
Yeah, right. So, track limits. I mean, 1,200 instances of track limit violations on 2 corners.
I mean, that's fairly crackers, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it didn't help that pre-race, the F1 media team were trumpeting the fact that yes, Austria have just signed an extension. It's going to be on the calendar until 2030. And then by 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, it was, yes, we'll have a result by 2030.
Is it fair to say, then, that maybe if they're going to enforce these rules so harshly, maybe they should have the first, like, say the first repeat offenders, should someone got a black flag in hindsight, you know, to show that they were serious about it?
How many? Yeah, because they do this thing where you get 5 warnings and then it all gets reset. So you get warning, black and white flag, 5 second, 10 seconds, and then it's reset. I would have thought the natural progression would be drive-through penalty, stop-go penalty, park
black
it.
flag. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think, would anyone have got 8 Tsunoda close to 8? Ocon?
Well, Ocon ended up with 30 seconds of penalties, so that would have been that would have been 10 off tracks.
Yeah, so he would have parked it. I think Tsunoda would have done as well.
Yeah, I think did Lewis get the first penalty, like the first time penalty?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's the fact that he got did he get 10 seconds in him or just 5 seconds?
10. Well, 5 initially.
5 initially. So, I mean, you could argue unless he got like 50 offs in the end of it, at some point it had got hammered into him that keep it on the island. So yeah, I think with a drive-through for somebody, that would have probably woke everybody up, because it reminds me of what happened with Lando. When his engineer came on and said, "Look, you're not going to like me for this, but you need to keep within the white lines because things are happening here." So obviously, like, McLaren knew then that he could be in for more places by driving slower and within the white lines than if he pushed it and got a penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a smart way to go around things, given how much of a disaster it was for half the field.
Yeah, like I said, how weird, have a sport where playing within the rules is a benefit.
It'll never catch on. I mean, I'm looking at the official FIA documents here, and there were 83 lap times deleted.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. I genuinely, I couldn't be happy with this situation, I'll be honest.
Yeah. As a professional piss boiler, this is... Yeah, it's, and they said to Lewis, or was it when they came on radio and Lewis said the car's undrivable, I can't keep it on the island. Put some gravel down just beyond the white line. I reckon he'd be able to keep it on the island. I don't think he'd be going into the gravel 6 or 7 times just because the car's bad. I think it's because the drivers either can't see the clearness of the white line, or they are just taking too many risks.
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah, because I mean, the problem is, isn't it, that the circuit or Red Bull in general don't want to put a gravel trap down there because motorbikes. Keep them on track, because anyone that's been watching MotoGP recently, they've really been clamping down like nobody's business on track limits. Saw somebody lose a second place because they went off track on the final lap the other week. So you can't use the bikes as an excuse when FIM or Dorna or whoever it is that dishes out the penalties in MotoGP are clamping down, well, up until Sunday, clamping down harder on track limits than F1 were.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, this week we've had a season's worth of off-track penalties in the space of an hour and 3/4. Well, about 4 hours after it finished, but...
So, I mean, why is it about F1 which has caused this then? Because is it the speed of the cars? Is it the way they drive? Because F2 had a few of these, but not nearly as many as in the first half of the race in the F1. So what are the F1 drivers just more cocky, or they think they can? They think, oh, it's all right, if I get a penalty, then, it shows the FIA up, or what? I don't know. I don't really believe in that. But I don't get what it is fundamentally about what we saw yesterday afternoon that just doesn't happen as often elsewhere on the same track.
My thoughts are, well, what I'm thinking is maybe it's the way that the tyres are degrading. And faster tyre deg means you've got to take each corner differently every time. But if drivers aren't doing that and they're trying to push... I mean, F1 is basically push it to the limit every single lap. And if the limit has moved, and you might not know it's moved until you go past that limit.
Yeah, but I mean, to sound like not to sound like Martin Brundle, if that was the case, nobody finishes Monaco.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So yeah, I don't get what the only thing I can think it is maybe the it it is that case of because the margins are so fine, especially in the midfield. You know, it's if you see the car ahead of you that's taking liberties with the white line, then you have to do that as well. Otherwise, you're going to fall behind it. Or if you've got somebody closing up behind you, you know, and they're doing that, they're gaining time, so it kind of pushes you into it. I'd like to know how the other teams' race strategists gave this information over to the driver, because I think the way like we just said before, the way Lando's race engineer said it to him was probably the perfect way of trying to get a point across to a driver. So maybe there's some element of to blame within the team for not making it seem apparent enough. But you would think that once people start getting 5-second penalties, which for most of the time it's, if not a race ruiner, it's you've lost a good haul of points. You'd think it would have calmed down from then. Unless you're at that point where you just think, well, we're 15 laps into this race. I've already got a 5-second penalty. I can't not go over the white line for another 65 laps, whatever it is. So I might as well just carry on as normal.
Yeah. And
but it's not good.
I'm guessing that's the approach that Ocon took. So he finished about 19th, 90th of his penalties. It does.
Is it embarrassing for the sport, do you think?
Yeah, down, I think it is.
Really,
I think it is.
I think if you look at it granularly, it might not be as much as it's probably perceived in. If you said explain the race in 3 sentences, then 2 of them will be about track limits. But if you look at the raw detail of, I guess, what happened, a lot of people like ourselves, I don't know. Guan Yu Zhou's been in Formula 1 a year and a bit, and he was perfect on it. He didn't get a single clock up for track limits. Lewis has been there 17 years and clocked up 15 seconds worth of penalties. I think it's more embarrassing for the individual drivers. I do think it does embarrass Formula 1 a bit, but I don't think it does as much as some of the people who've walked away with half a minute worth of penalties.
Yeah, I think that seems fair.
I mean, Lewis was in full-on whinging mode this weekend, so much so that Toto even came on the radio and told him just drive it.
Twice.
Or as I put on our chat, slapped him down like he was a table.
Is it last week I said, or a couple of weeks ago I said that I think Lewis has been one of the best drivers of the last few races. He's near enough reversed that this weekend, which is a shame because I'm not the world's biggest Lewis fan, but I thought he'd been quite impressive in that Mercedes this year. But he gets 1 race or 2 races every year where he's just a pain in the arse. Like Imola last year when he couldn't get past Albon and Gasly. This year, I think his first one is Austria. So we just got to take the sweepstakes on one of the second Lewis pain in the arse races now.
We have got Silverstone coming up this weekend. He's on a roll.
It would be funny, wouldn't it?
My early prediction for Silverstone, we're not going to see crowd surfing.
If Max wins, it'll be closer to Royal Rumble than crowd surfing.
I mean, it's very hard to go through it team by team, because I've got to make sure I'm looking at the right classification as well, because... I mean, do we go through it penalty amount by penalty amount?
Maybe we could just have TBC on in the title somewhere for this episode.
Right, I think AlphaTauri come out as the worst team. De Vries in 17th and Tsunoda in 19th, although we do have Haas as well with an 18th and the only DNF.
Tell you what, there is more chance of me being in that car the second half of the season than De Vries.
He's now been overtaken in the championship by Logan Sargent, who I think, if I'm being kind here, has done sod all this year.
Even Williams have admitted that Logan Sargent is in F1 a year too soon.
Yeah.
But they had no choice because they wanted rid of Latifi and everybody else they wanted wasn't available.
Yeah, I think that they do seem to be treating him okay, though. You know, I think there's some sort of potential in there with him. I don't feel like at least in Williams, he's not getting thrown to the wolves where, like AlphaTauri, if he was doing what he's doing in AlphaTauri, he'd be getting replaced as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Helmut Marko's been doing press this week, and he was saying that Horner wasn't convinced about De Vries, and right this minute, he might be agreeing with Horner. Oh, that's going to do the guy's confidence a lot of good, isn't it?
But you've got to agree with Marko. Like, you know, it's I know we often have a go at the meat grinder, and rightly so in some cases. But on the other side of it, at least the meat grinder does give opportunities to people.
Yeah.
I think the meat grinder's got to like your brand of meat for it to work.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound great, does it? Said
Note to self.
Max.
Note to self. Don't insert Manscaped advert here.
You think that's a meat grinder?
Ricardo?
Max said Ricardo, sort of Bohemi.
Verstappen?
Yeah.
Carlos Sainz did okay through it.
They sort of fell out of love with him, though, didn't they?
Yeah, but at least it gave him enough to, you know, extend his career.
Yeah. He in GP3 a couple of years before he ended up in Formula One. I thought, oh, Carlos Sainz is no good, and look at him now. You know, he's take away the penalty this weekend. He's a handy driver. But Red Bull don't have a huge amount of patience. We've seen that before. They've been very patient with some drivers they probably shouldn't have been so patient with. Mm-hmm. Scott Speed, Alguersuari, arguably, Bourdais. But I think we're about to see, by the end of this month, the return to Formula E for Nick de Vries.
Yeah, I think you're right. The other one I think they got it wrong with was Alexander Albon. You know, the whole Red Bull group got that situation wrong, because I just genuinely believe he could be a future world champion given the right situation.
Yeah. He's really done himself some good in that Williams.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's shown a lot of what he can get out of it. Another driver that Red Bull, I think, completely fucked up over was Jean-Eric Vergne.
Yes. Yeah. He's another. I don't know if I would be as brave to say like a lost world champion, but definitely a lost race winner.
I was going to say he would definitely have won races.
Yeah.
And Antonio Felix da Costa in the same way. They never gave him his chance.
No.
And he's a Formula E champion. Yeah, but he's clearly got a lot of speed underneath him in single seaters, but we never saw it.
I mean, the binned off Pato O'Ward after about I think he was on the Red Bull program for about 2 months.
Yeah.
And it turns out he's a little bit useful.
Yeah.
I think they made a mistake bringing Brandon Hartley back.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was awful.
I mean, the guy is a legend in tin tops. You cannot take anything away from his prototype career. And experience, of course. Don't forget the experience.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, F1, I think that was a mistake.
Was it Kvyat that he replaced? Or was it Sainz when Sainz went off to Renault?
Both.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah, because it got really complicated, didn't it? Because Kvyat got dropped, Sainz went to Renault, and then for one race they had Hartley and Gasly in the car. Then Kvyat came back and then got dropped again. TLDR, they had a shitload of drivers that season. It got to the final 4 or 5 races, and no one knew who was going to be driving the Toro Rosso until qualifying started.
Yeah, Brendan Hartley wasn't the right choice. No.
But I think that was a case of at that point they had nobody else with a super license, and they wanted rid of Kvyat, only to bring him back a couple of years later.
Yeah, ironically, again. There's nothing in me that's currently suggesting that Mick Schumacher would have been worse than Nick de Vries. He may not have been much better, but I think they probably should have taken Mick after all.
That's probably fair. I don't think it would have been much better. The only thing I would say with the de Vries Schumacher situation is de Vries looked like he could be better at the time. With what he'd done outside of Formula One. Then when he came in and did one race and did really well, we all predicted that he would be smashing Tsunoda out of Formula One by this time. This point in the season. If anything, what he's done is he's saved Tsunoda's career again, because I don't think he's not doing badly, but I don't think he's doing any more than a normal Tsunoda job. It's just he looks like he's doing much better because of who's next to him.
Yeah. And every new teammate that rocks up next to Yuki Tsunoda, you go, oh, well, this will prove his worth.
Yeah. Secretly,
who
best driver on the grid.
Yeah. Maybe Nick de Vries is actual class and that car is horrific.
It wouldn't surprise me if the car was terrible.
No, I think the car probably is terrible. I do think Yuki's doing better this year than he probably was doing the last couple of years. Whether he's doing enough to say that he's dragging the team with him, like Gasly did a few years ago, or like Lando did for the last couple of years with McLaren. I don't think he's that good.
I think when you look at the like comparing drivers and bringing Lando up, given everybody thought that Piastri was going to be much closer to Lando than Ricciardo was. I think there's every chance that Lando, that McLaren is a handful, might actually be like the best driver on the grid. I think he's gone in my estimation of like being he's good to I think he's like proper special.
Yeah, he is Verstappen, Sainz, Russell, Alonso good.
Yeah.
Lewis, I should say there as well.
Yeah, before you get set upon.
Yeah. That number again is 07800.
I was like, we're forgetting the sprint as well. Oh, hang on, AlphaTauri were terrible in that, 16th and 17th.
Can we have honourable mention to how fucking entertaining both sprint quali and the sprint was this weekend?
I can't say anything about sprint quali because I didn't see it, but the sprint race itself, even though I could only watch it on a phone in a hotel room, wow.
Yeah, it was ace. But I'll fess up. I've enjoyed every sprint, even the bad ones, and I find it quite depressing when I see online, Formula One fans moan about the sprint race, going, "Fuck me, you would rather have a practice session that you weren't going to watch than have a race that you can watch." I find that utterly depressing.
For me, I think they need to just make a couple of tweaks to the sprint. I don't think it's a bad replacement. I'm happy with the sprint race, but I would change a couple of things.
I'd change a couple of things. I'd have reverse grids for the sprint race, and I would have the sprint race as a separate championship.
Oh, okay.
So you'd have this. You'd have the F1 Sprint Championship.
I'm glad they broke it away from deciding the grid on the Sunday because that was rubbish.
Yeah, completely.
It was, but every race they did it for, the race was full of drama because shit happened.
Yeah.
So it did add. I think in every situation, sprint races are better than an extra practice session.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I just think they need to change bits of it, and I think reverse grids. I think that's the answer.
I think
Reverse
it's
the top 10.
I think it's a good.
I would say double reverse grid. Reverse the top 10 and reverse the bottom 10.
Yeah.
From quali.
Yeah.
Then,
You have Piastri on pole and Lando last.
well, no. Reverse the top 10. So you go down 10 to 1 from qualifying. And then reverse the bottom 10. So you go 20 to 11.
Oh, what did I say? Piastri on pole? No, sorry. You'll have Lando on pole and you have Piastri. Oh, well, yeah, that's not much different, is it?
Yeah. I think like GP2 showed that reverse grid pole is a really good idea. So I don't understand why nobody turned around and said, "Look, lads, we've kind of been doing this already."
Yeah.
So should we just do that again?
Yeah.
Well, F1 did say, and I think it was Dominicali that came out and said it, that it's too gimmicky for Formula One. Meanwhile, here's a boost to DRS zones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too gimmicky for Formula One. Well, I mean, we'll throw it into the bucket of things which are gimmicky about Formula One.
Well, let's
It's a big
about,
bucket.
Well, let's talk about gimmicks in sport. Like, at what point does a rule stop being a rule and become a gimmick? Is like if someone's taken down in the penalty box in football, and instead of just starting again, like kick off from center, you have a penalty. Like, is that a gimmick?
Yeah, good point.
Mm.
So yeah, it's just realistically, gimmicks are only gimmicks when they or become gimmicks in the eyes of somebody within a sport when they think it's going to affect them negatively. So obviously, reverse grid pole, not Red Bull's favourite thing at the minute.
All football fans will probably agree with me on this. I have 3 letters in response to what is a gimmick and what isn't. VAR.
Yeah.
Is that the virtual assistant thing, virtual referee thing?
Video ref.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crap.
You know, taking 5 minutes to decide if a goal should be disallowed because somebody's sleeve was offside. I'm not actually joking. That has happened.
That's crazy.
But the VAR system in most other sports is pretty fantastic. In tennis, it works. In cricket, it works. It just doesn't work in football.
I mean, in cricket, the VAR system is that good. It can actually predict with, I think it's something like 99.95% accuracy where the ball was going to go.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we don't have to mention this again on this podcast, I've just got a message for Pat Cummins. I hope every time you get out of the car for the rest of your life, you bang your head. I mean, I'm not. I don't intend. I've no ill will against the man. I just hope he mildly inconveniences himself.
No. I can go one further than that. I hope every time you get out of a car, somebody nicks it before you shut the door.
Yeah. That happened to not to me once, but we once had a pizza delivery at our old place when I used to live up in St Ives in Cambridgeshire, and whilst the bloke walked to the door to deliver our pizza, someone came along and nicked his car. So we opened the door to a bloke holding the pizza, looking around at his car driving away. They rang me about 2 weeks later saying, "We've got news about your car." I said, well, it wasn't my car. We phoned the police from our phone. They said, "You need to speak to this guy at Domino's." All right, okay. Just out of interest, what was the news? Well, we've recovered 2 of the alloys. I don't want it back as fucking Meccano.
Is this a subscription model?
Yeah. Issue 1, you get 2 alloys.
I had a similar one once. Friend of mine had his car stolen, and literally just after it happened, it was in the car park about 100 yards away from the police station where we lived in Halifax. So we went up to the police station to report it stolen, but we were in a queue behind another couple who'd had their car stolen a couple of weeks before. And the police had told them to come to the station because they'd found the car. And the desk sergeant handed their parcel shelf to them and said, "We can't do anything else because it was covered in police aware tape, but somebody's nicked it again." The guy actually said, well, what the hell am I meant to do with a parcel shelf?
It's a memento.
Slightly more car than he had an hour ago.
Well, yes. This, of course, isn't helping my friend any, because he's standing there going, I'm never going to see this car again, am I?
The parcel shelf. Don't forget the parcel shelf. You can put parcels on that bad boy.
Yeah, problem was, it wasn't a hatchback. That car didn't have a parcel shelf.
Remind me, because this will go on too long. I have an exceptional story about somebody's car being stolen, but it's too long for the middle. I'll tell it in a Patreon.
We'll do that one
Okay.
next week. And if that isn't a good plug for patreon.com/3legs4wheels, pound, euro or dollar or local currency unit per month, and get an extra show. See, can do that. Right, so are we done with slagging off AlphaTauri?
I think so, because we'll be done slagging them off altogether this year, won't they? Can't they get a new name next year too?
They're getting a new name, but it's not going to be Toro Rosso.
Is it going to be Alfa Romeo?
Apparently that's Haas, isn't it?
Oh, is it Haas that's taken it? Because I knew they were going somewhere, so I thought maybe that was the hookup.
No, I think it's going to be Haas, Alfa Romeo, and Sauber Audi. So,
there's going to be so many jokes. I wish I wish Toto Wolff was something to do with Haas, because it'd be like Haas to Romeo, baby.
we need Chris to do the impression.
We do.
Just want to point out, Chris's absence isn't caused by him using our sponsored products.
No, he's not a eunuch all of a sudden.
I will do this one now, and this is going out for the patrons as well. I just want to mention Manscaped have been helping us out lately, and they sent us some of their products to test, and I was skeptical, if not a little terrified, but they are really good. The trimming products and the as I call it, the old man's whizzy. You know, the thing you shove up your nose to get rid of all your nose hair.
Yeah.
We could do. It's one of those, because I'm not going to lie, I really need one of those.
Yeah,
Cause
I've
got to that point where I've got hair coming out my ears.
It does ears as well.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, they are really good, along with the skincare products for your gentleman's zones.
Oh, do they actually have? So you get actual liquids and things?
Oh, yeah. There's a deodorant.
It depends how much you use the rubs.
There's a deodorant and a toner that come in this pack, and you can get free shipping and 20% off if you use code 3L4W at checkout when you go to manscaped.com. But they are really good. In my own words, and I probably shouldn't have said this while Sean had a mouthful of a drink. After I'd used it for the first time, you know what? I feel like an eel down there.
Well, if that hasn't sold some units.
But Paul, all this high quality material must cost you hundreds.
Well, no, you get, like I say, you get 20% off everything in the range with code 3L4W at checkout.
I think the real selling point to all this is
feel like an eel.
No,
it's a great slogan.
top and bottom of it is,
well, mainly the bottom.
If you whack some weeds, kind of makes everything look a bit bigger. That's a fact. It's a fact.
Yes.
And the only other way to do that involves weights and string, and you don't want to do that.
No.
Or as some friends of mine in a band found out when their drummer's luggage got searched when they were on tour crossing an international border, some kind of vacuum device.
The full Austin Powers.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, he'd actually taken it with him on tour.
Oh, God.
That's like a relationship at that point.
Can I use this sponsorship opportunity to tell people how much I love Pringles?
If they send us enough money, yes. Yeah, once you pop, they're a crisp.
The letter used slogan.
I would fucking love it if come next week we've got a sponsorship with Dyson.
Extra long show next week. Anyway, Haas, moving on quickly, swiftly. Yes. Something that Haas actually did this weekend, because Hulk got a fastest lap.
Did he have fast lap come the end of the race?
In the sprint, yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course,
Yeah, I mean, Hulk was actually the dry tyre winner in the sprint.
Yeah, he was the person furthest up the queue to get, I guess, to get stick on mediums and make progress.
Yeah, he got a fastest lap of 1 minute 10, which is still 3 seconds slower than the fastest lap in the Grand Prix, so the track wasn't fully dry. But no, it was a good call bringing him in when he did, and then worked his way from the back of the pack up to 6th in the sprint on the cold tyres.
Yeah,
Grand Prix didn't go quite so well.
No. He was done for track limits about 7 laps after he finished.
Well, of course, there's a track limit infringement. He's driven off the track to retire.
Yeah. You park that on the racing line, or you're getting 5 seconds.
But it's progress for Haas, and Hulk is kicking the crap out of K-Mag this year.
I know. I didn't expect that, because I don't. Again, I've never really thought of K-Mag as being a world champion in the waiting, but he looked like a really solid driver last year. You know, he looked like he shook his problems away and stuff like that. I'd have never thought that Hulkenberg would just come off and blow the doors off him.
No. I thought that'd be quite, well, what's the term? Parity? That's not the term, but equal. I thought it'd be quite equal.
Yeah.
And he in qualifying, Hulkenberg in that Haas is something else. But that Haas can't seem to do a race.
No. If that car was, say, like an Alpine level car, or McLaren in Lando's hands, I think he'd be able to do some damage with it.
Yeah. Shows that Hulk still got it.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a shame, because if he was a little bit younger, you'd probably be saying now he might be worth a big team punt again. If it was a Red Bull came begging or something like that, and they needed someone to plug in like they did with Perez, but you just feel he might be a little bit past that point.
Well, he was very nearly the Perez, wasn't he? It was down to Perez, Albon, and him.
Yeah, they were. Well, I think then they decided not Albon. I think he was in the last two.
Better than Perez? Do you think? Do you think he'd be doing better?
It's hard to say, because Perez can adapt his style a lot better to drive the Red Bull around Max. And with Hulk, I don't know if he'd be that adaptable or not.
Maybe. No, I'm not sure.
Could you imagine if Hulkenberg had gone to Red Bull in 2021 and we're here 2.5 years later going, he'll get his podium soon? He just, I know. You're right. Guan Yu Zhou did outrace you last time, Nico.
He was absolutely glued to fourth for an entire season.
Yeah.
Yeah, knowing his luck, that would be the year that Ferrari came good and everything worked.
Now. Let's keep things to real world problems.
I like the odd bit of alternate universe.
I think Ferrari's fucking hilarious. I can't wait. I can't wait to see them fail. Even my dad turned around before this weekend and said, "Let's see if Ferrari fuck this one up then, shall we?"
Scuderia headless chicken t-shirts are available from our merch store.
They got a podium, but the fastest Ferrari this weekend got completely shafted.
Yeah, where are we going next with what team?
It's almost like Flood usually writes the order down.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is I don't know if I'm actually looking at the right classification or not as well. So it's taking me twice as long to do it as it normally would, which is normally twice as long as Flood takes to do it. So we're like compounding the issue. Thank you, FIA.
It's got to be Alfa Romeo, I would have thought. They're somewhere down there.
Yeah, hidden amongst the undergrowth, being completely and utterly anonymous.
Speaking of Manscaped, get rid of the undergrowth. Sorry.
Speaking of getting rid of the undergrowth, I think it's time. Like Bottas's time is done now.
Yeah, I mean we had
not agree.
We had what 19th and 20th on Saturday, and 12th and 15th. Am I reading the right one? Yes. Eventually 12th and 15th on Sunday. Although crossed the line 14th and 16th.
Oh, God.
I tell you what, I know there's the backing coming in from Audi and stuff like that. But that team, even a company like Audi coming in to turn it around, there's so much work to do there.
Right. How good does it turn out Fred Vasseur actually was then?
Well, I mean, yeah.
I'd argue if he was that good, the team wouldn't be in this shape. It wouldn't have got to this point.
Yeah.
He's got to shoulder some of the blame for where they are.
True, but they seem to be a lot more aimless this season.
Oh yeah, don't get me right. It's not great, but I don't. And it's not like Fred Vasseur has turned the fortunes of Ferrari around, especially in the decision department.
Well, I think he's still in the, what was it he called it, working out why they're doing things this way phase.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at some point, like when you're working out why things are going this way, the water's at your neck by that point.
We're at a point, I think, with Bottas. I said this last time that he's never going to win a race again. He's not going to get another podium again. He probably won't get another podium. He's not going to be still there in 2026. So What is the point of Valtteri Bottas short of them sacking Logan Sargent and putting him back in at Williams? What I don't see the point of Bottas.
He's got the haircut. He's got the haircut and the tash for supercars. He should make the most of it.
Yeah.
Do you know? I almost feel like that's where. Like I know that he's like he reportedly had some like pretty like big problems, life wise, which was probably a result of like repeatedly getting put in his place by Lewis Hamilton and essentially realizing that you've worked your entire life to get to a certain point in your career, and you've just got this massive big brick wall in front of you in the shape of your teammate, which you can't walk around or get over. But is he just kind of hanging on for the Barrichello dream? It's like, oh, if I just keep hanging around long enough, something might happen. Like something will come to me.
Well, that's Perez now, isn't it? Essentially,
yeah. But well, I mean, even so, there's nothing wrong with being a second driver in a top car. There's nothing wrong with being Eddie Irvine.
Well, I'm not going to say anything there.
Do you know, I mean, it could be a different Eddie Irvine, but I was awfully upset when I found out that there was that name was on was on a list, like a certain flight manifest to island to a certain island. I was really upset about that. I might have also read that. Were you also surprised?
Well, I mean, before we hear the music of Jacques Villeneuve, I think legally I have to say yes, I was surprised.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm I'm now the squeaky voice bloke from The Simpsons.
But like Bottas seems to have, since he's, I mean, again, I don't want him not to enjoy himself in the sport, but since we've had this like happy-go-lucky Bottas, like, aren't I quirky? I'll have a mullet and a moustache. Like, his driving has dropped off a cliff as well.
Yeah.
So although he might have been mentally tortured a few years ago, at least he was driving like at the sharp end of Formula One while he was upset.
Yeah. Fantastic triathlete though.
Maybe he's one of these people that needs the mental pressure to perform well and uses it as a release. When when he's not struggling and he's not fighting his own demons.
He's struggling now.
Well, when he's not struggling and fighting his own demons.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean.
So is he? Do you think he'd genuinely get a better Bottas losing out 95% of the time to Lewis, or 60% of the time to? So I said Guan Yu earlier, Zhou Guan Yu, because that can't be. Zhou Guan Yu, I don't think he is a Formula One driver, but I think he's in off the crossbar.
Yes, loosest possible terms, Formula One driver.
He's just about in the top 20 that they could probably nab. I don't think Bottas. I think he's fallen out of that club.
Yeah, I think you're right. I wonder whether he would. I think he would still be doing a lot better if he was in Mercedes. Obviously, even with the bad Mercedes in comparison, I think he would be closer to Lewis Hamilton, and driving at a better level than he is right now. Getting sometimes beating Guan Yu Zhou and sometimes getting beaten by him. I don't know why. Maybe it was the environment at Mercedes helped him perform better. I always wonder whether there's elements of embarrassment from drivers when they are all of a sudden stuck. He's not even in the midfield, really, is it? He's propping the grid up.
Yeah.
So when you've gone from winning multiple constructors championships and being a big part of winning those championships and that team, a key help to helping your teammate become one of the most decorated drivers of all time, and now you are spinning in the middle of qualifying for seemingly no apparent reason.
Yeah,
in a Alfa Romeo.
He's got more race wins than Mark Webber, Danny Rick, probably Montoya.
Wow, yeah.
And what has he got to show for it?
A mullet and a moustache.
Yeah.
That's scary. When you put it that way, because each one of those drivers is better than Bottas.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's got more wins than Button as well.
No, surely not. How many has Bottas got? 10, 11? 10. He's got the same as Rubens.
Right. And Rubens Barrichello was a much, much higher quality driver than...
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. I think if you take Lewis Hamilton out of Mercedes and give Bottas a number 2,
then he'd lose the mullet.
But I think he might lose a championship as well. In the same way as you have the golfing class between Perez and Verstappen right now. If you take Verstappen out of Formula One, Alonso's got a real chance of winning that championship.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm. Yeah, talking of Button and supercars, I was watching the NASCAR last night because it was the Chicago Street Race and Jensen was taking part in it. Qualified top 10. Was running in the top 10 when I stopped watching. Turns out he finished 21st. Yeah. But the funniest part of watching it last night was the NASCAR commentators trying to handle the name of the Australian guest driver from Supercars, who embarrassingly for them won. And I have never heard so many different pronunciations of the name Shane van Gisbergen in one night.
Do you know what? I'll allow it.
I did see a lot of things online today about Sean van Gisbergen.
Gisberger.
SVG,
nice.
Let's call it.
Oh, they even got that wrong at one point. They called him SGV.
Some sort of haulage vehicle.
So it just goes to show NASCAR's and Aussie supercars are very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, hang on a minute. Driven dangerously by blokes with mullets. Yeah.
I don't want to do Bottas down too much. I don't want to be cruel. He got himself into
It's
a
a
bit
bit
of a crap
late for that.
situation. Yeah. Right, Lee. Paul, add Finland to the list.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Finland off the travel.
Bloody
radar.
this no-fly list is getting longer every week.
Yeah, it's, yeah. I won't be able to leave the Isle of Wight at some point soon.
I think we've got some sort of grace with Finland, given our unquestionable love for Kimi Räikkönen
And Mika.
Out of all the caps in my possession when I went on holiday, I took a Lotus Kimi hat.
It's cool. It's a good-looking piece of kit, I imagine. Yeah, I don't want to be too cruel to Bottas. I genuinely think it's almost bad for Bottas's career that Rosberg retired. Not, it's obviously better for him that he got himself into a race-winning machine, a championship-winning machine, but he was never going to compete with Lewis. If he had been in the Vettel Ferrari at the time, the Verstappen Red Bull maybe a year or two later, he might have nicked a couple of wins there and had been a very good Barrichello, a very good Mark Webber, a very good Coulthard, Montoya type driver. But I think he's been done down slightly because he was in the fastest F1 car, or the most successful F1 car, barring maybe this year's Red Bull and the 89 McLaren ever. And yet, what does he have to show for it? 10 wins and not much of a further career.
Well, as it turns out, remember the Williams video, and I think Sky used to show it an awful lot when it was the inside Williams as their filler. Massa and Bottas doing the joint announcement of we're staying for another season. Bottas is now the Massa.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, what has he got out of the move to Mercedes? He's moved one seat to the left.
He's probably got a chunky bank account out of it.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All the coffee and grind.
Yeah, never have to pay for another sauna again.
Ever.
Williams,
unlike
then.
Eddie Irvine. Anyway, right, yes.
Yeah. Don't say it. Williams.
I love the fact that I know when I laugh and it's a proper laugh, I sound like Muttley. Kieran sounds like a siren.
Right.
Before we started recording, I was taking the bin out earlier. I thought, oh, don't do the Muttley laugh.
Anyway, Williams. So the Albon 13th and Sargent 18th in the sprint. Then they crossed the line 11th and 13th. Although Sargent already had a penalty by that point. And then the final classification... Oh no, that's stuck, 11th and 13th.
Yeah, they both got penalties and got to keep their places.
Yes. Fucking hyper mathematics, this.
Sargent, I think this is the race where Sargent, I could be wrong, Sargent's overtaken Nick de Vries in the championship for 19th as the only non-point scorers left.
Yes, because I don't think de Vries has finished as high as 13th, so that would actually do it. What is de Vries' best result?
I think the issue with that is de Vries has definitely got better machinery to score points in.
I don't know. I actually think the Williams is a better car than the AlphaTauri. It's not by much.
Tsunoda's scored points in it though, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I really do. I think the standout Williams results are Albon.
Yeah. Albon's scored a 10th and a 7th, hasn't he?
Mm. Yes, Sargent has overtaken Debris on countback. They both had a 12th place, but Sargent's had a 13th, and Debris' next highest is a 14th.
Oh, yeah.
So, yes, the only two drivers that haven't scored, but... So, Tsunoda scored points twice in the AlphaTauri, and Albon scored points twice in the Williams, and has got more points. So I think this does point to the Williams possibly being a better car.
Yeah, maybe. I still don't think Tsunoda would have scored points in a Williams. I think that's the difference. I don't think he'd have been capable of doing the drives that Albon did to do that. For
Albon to get points, he's had to sink bad tyres a long way, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So situationally, I'd say you're probably right. I don't think Tsunoda doesn't do softy catchy monkey. He does you absolute bunch of wankers. What on earth am I doing? I hate everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, my tyres are gone.
Usually followed by, I'm backwards. Yeah, Albon is a lot more of a calmer character, but I think the Williams this season, they're still keeping on the right track. It's going slower than everybody had hoped, but the team, or a representative of the team, did say making a Formula One car these days is very difficult.
It's facts.
I wonder what happened to him.
He got Claire Williamsed. That's what happened to him. Much is the same as like Williams being a family-owned business. That's what happened to him.
Yeah. But I think it was an okay showing from Williams, and I think the penalties didn't fall right. With penalties, with penalties working out differently, we could have had many more England wins. Sorry. Got myself lost in sport for a second. But yeah, with the way that the penalties fell, I mean, to be honest, not losing places is possibly a bonus.
Yeah, especially if your two lads have got penalties. Yeah, Sargent. I don't know how Sargent ended up in 13th with only one retiree of Hulk. I guess Piastri lost a front wing. Tsunoda, for some reason, pitted first lap. He had damage, didn't he?
They changed his wing on the first lap. He actually ran into the back of Ocon.
Yeah. But I'd say Logan Sargent, 13th place with 15 seconds worth of penalties, it's pretty good.
And finishing ahead of somebody, actually finishing ahead of two drivers on the track that didn't get penalised.
Yeah. Yeah, Bottas and Piastri.
Yes. Oh, three. Joe as well.
Just out of interest, like how has it got the times on what you're looking at? Where would he have landed if he'd have kept his nose clean?
Let's have a look.
They did have it on the official document. I was trying to suss this last night.
If he hadn't have been penalised, car 13 got a... Is he shown as a penalty on... car 2. Shown as a 5-second penalty. He would have still... he would have still been 13th.
Ah, right, okay. So, no, I was just wondering whether it might have crept another couple of places, but...
No, it would have still been 13th, but the gap to Joe would have only been 1.5 seconds.
I think it's looking like he's definitely going to get another season, though, isn't it?
I think so. I mean, I said last week, I think Williams are actually doing with him what they did with Lance Stroll when he was in his first season, which is taking him out on F1 circuits that aren't being currently used for F1 in an old car and doing a test session.
Yeah.
Just to get him used to, well, really, I guess, the speed and the levels of grip, which is something that he didn't have in F2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good driver, but it just shows the gap that can exist between F1 and F2. Just in terms of pace and power.
And to be fair, rightly so. You wouldn't want F2 to be an easy step into Formula One.
No,
and I guess strangely, over the last couple of years, we've had the drivers who haven't necessarily been the champions of F2. I know we've got Piastri in it now, but in the Piastri year, we ended up with Zhou Guanyu in the seat. In the Drugovich year, we've now not had Drugovich or Pourchaire. We've got Logan Sargent. In the Schumacher year, we didn't get Ilott. We got Sonoda.
I think it's because you have dud years in the junior categories. Don't you know? You had a year there. We pilfered Albon,
George
Lando, George Russell came through. Did anyone else come through from that year?
No, I think it was just those three, but they were the top three that year, weren't they?
Yeah, but they were the top guys. And so then you're taking the top guys away, so that essentially the next year the guys which are winning races and are top guys there are only top guys by default, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of the same way that you look at quarterbacks in the NFL draft. Lee's going to get completely and utterly lost on this one, and me and Kieran know what we're talking about. Because you only get one good quarterback class every 2 or 3 years, and then you just get utter mediocrity. You know, because I mean, there was the one year there was the big, is it going to be RG3 or is it going to be Andrew Luck who goes first, and the other one that goes second? And then the following year, I can't remember who the top quarterback drafts were. I think Geno Smith was one of them. So.
And quite frankly, I think he's America's next superhero. As a Seahawks fan.
Yeah, I mean, it's taken him a few years to come good, but at first, I mean, he went to the Jets and played like a member of the Jets.
Yeah. There was a year where... Didn't Mahomes get taken 12? 10, 11, 12, something like that? And Lamar Jackson got taken 32nd because Baltimore traded up.
Yeah.
And those are two of the best quarterbacks of modern times.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at an overlooked quarterback, Tom Brady.
Yeah, 7th round or something.
Seventh round and 7 quarterbacks taken before him, and he's won everything that's possible to win and even been in a Seth MacFarlane movie.
Winner.
Right. So I've got a fucking clue what you're talking about.
I'll translate this into
Ted 2. He was in Ted 2. You must have. No.
Yeah, yeah.
Some years you get a Russell, a Norris, and Albon. The next 2 years you get De Vries, Latifi, Schumacher, Mazepin. And then
go on, say Drugovich. I know you want to.
And then you get. No, I can't. I can't. I'm sure he's a lovely guy. Actually, I'm not sure. I think he might be a bit of an arsehole. But some years you get a Drugovich. And you know what? I imagine if you put him in that Aston Martin, he's probably not as bad as Stroll.
I quietly don't. I don't think Stroll's as bad as people make him out to be, you know.
I think he seems to be being... we'll come to this with with Aston Martin, won't we? But
I think he is better than
Roy
both
Nissany?
AlphaTauri drivers, both Alfa Romeo drivers. Who else is he better than? I think he's on an equal footing with Ocon, maybe.
I don't think he is.
Got the results to show that he's on an equal footing with Ocon, but he's in a much better car.
No, he hasn't always been.
Look at both of their races at Monaco, where Ocon finished third in a slightly tired Alpine, and Stroll, I want to say, he finished 16th or something like that, didn't he? But, that's Monaco. I guess it's a unique track.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that Stroll is any better than a Sonoda, but I don't think he's much worse.
I think his peaks are higher than though. I think that's the difference.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's good on a wet track. In Monza 6-7 years ago, he was great. At Turkey, he led half the race.
Had a great race in Baku as well in the Williams.
Yeah. Yeah.
Certain tracks suit his driving style, certain tracks really don't.
Seems to do well on shorter high speed tracks, doesn't it?
I mean, we've been saying this about him, and I think even Scarbs agreed with us at this point, and he claims that he's not an expert on drivers, but Stroll's tactic of gas, brake, turn, gas, brake, turn. Anything that involves anything a little more than that just throws him completely.
Yeah. Podium on the Squoval.
Yeah. It must be tough as well. Like, to get everyone that speaks to Stroll in the voice of, you're only there because of your dad. And that very well might be true, don't get me wrong. But it must be a weight to carry that. You know, it's when you
I don't know. I think Alonso speaks to him like his race engineer.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, hang on, he is.
But you must feel at some point, like, turn around and say, listen, motherfucker, I'm not the first person to make the Formula 1 with a rich father. Look at the rest of the grid.
Mm.
You know, Lando Norris is my guy, but it would be amiss for me not to point out that his father has more money than God.
Yeah. He was apparently at the Isle of Wight Festival this year.
Well, didn't they build like a little track for kart track next to the house so Lando could practice on it? Lando got so much testing time in single seater cars on his way up through the junior ranks, and good, because he's a brilliant driver and he's an asset to Formula One. But I just feel I feel sorry for Lance because he seems to get a lot of stick that other people don't for essentially the same level of privilege, if you want.
I think a lot of it is that Stroll is still making mistakes that a rookie would make, and he's in his 7th season.
That's fair. That is fair.
And they rushed him through essentially as well, didn't they? He shouldn't have been replacing a retiring Massa in 2017. No. He should have gone to F2. He should have done 2 years in F2, and if he's still any good, bring him into F1.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think he did do his developing in Formula One rather than in the junior careers, and maybe he wouldn't have so much stick if he had done that. You know, if he'd come in. One of the things I do like, and I think oddly enough, the best asset to Formula One, Lance Stroll seems to be his father.
Well, he's turned a $300 million company into a $700 million company, isn't he?
And it's
when F1's involved, it's usually the other way around.
Yeah.
Well, let's say everyone that's bought Jordan, since has tried to do that, and we wouldn't. I don't think any of us would be particularly surprised if, come this time next year, that car's a championship contender.
No. I mean, were it not for the Super Red Bull, it could well have been this year.
Yeah. So go, Lance.
Lance, go. Just go.
Just go look in your mirrors from time to time, all right?
Yeah. Awareness 85 on the F1 game. Are they having a laugh? I passed my driving test in March. I can see in my mirrors. It's got to be awareness of a. No, I've got no analogy. It's got to be awareness of Lance Stroll.
Of something that you scrape off your windscreen.
Yeah.
Like that.
Oh God. So yes, that's Williams and bits of Aston Martin. Probably Alpine next, actually. So I think we've got in the final classification we have a Gasly 10th.
How?
Less penalties than other people, possibly.
Oh, he did get one though, didn't he? Because Stroll went ahead of him on the penalties. He was 9th, Stroll was 10th, and that got switched over after the late night penalties.
And then Ocon with his 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Dropping from 12th to... He only lost 2 places.
I don't think that's the moral of the story, though.
No. And he got a seventh in the sprint. It was one of those will the real Alpine please stand up weekends.
Yeah. Yeah, because if that car is, I know that the Red Bull Ring is sort of Lando's not bogey track, whether the opposite of the bogey track is
Playground.
His playground. And I know that, Lando's good and that McLaren worked really well this weekend for him. But if those upgrades on the McLaren is as good as it is, then Alpine aren't going from 4th to 3rd this year as they wanted to. They could be going from 4th to 6th.
Yep. But it's the cycle of Renault, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry, they'll quit. They'll quit F1 soon.
Well, I mean, they've kind of half done it, haven't they? Who's the consortium that's bought into them? I know
Ryan Reynolds, Rob McElhenney, and Redbird Capital, who are tied in with The Rock
and Michael B. Jordan.
I mean, this has to be something to do with the film, doesn't it? Like the fact that they're filming this new Formula One film. It strikes me as odd that happens, and all of a sudden a load of Hollywood celebrities buy into a Formula One team.
Well, we're not going to be seeing as much of Alpine on Drive to Survive because they'll have their own Disney Plus series airing straight after the latest episode of the Wrexham documentary.
Welcome to Endstone. Oh, it doesn't.
It's always sunny in Endstone.
Rock on with Ocon. No, shit.
No.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
They're going to change it from Endstone to Enrock.
Enrock. Yeah. Can you smell?
Look at Ock is cooking. I was just going to say that.
Yeah, it might turn out that 200 billion for a quarter of Alpine might
200 million, not billion.
Fuck did I say?
Oh my god!
Yeah.
When Ocon finally falls out of Formula One, they can do a docudrama about his life outside Formula One called Ock Bottom.
The man who was Estebanished.
This is why he keeps coming back. This is why he's now a part of the team. Do we make the announcement now? By the way,
I'll let you if so. Yeah.
Yeah. Kieran is now officially part of the Three Legs Four Wheels collective.
Yeah, we've took his soul.
That would have relied on him having one in the first place. Don't forget, he started as a listener.
Yeah, it wasn't returned for the last 6 years. Also, I haven't told Jane this yet, so honey, this is the first you're hearing of it. I'm busy every Monday night now. You've got loads of Gilmore Girls on Netflix to get through, I know. So enjoy. Yeah, also, I meant to say at this point, I'm really happy to join. This is very lovely. Yeah, thank you very much for having me on.
And just want to thank everyone who's sent us all the great messages saying how much they've enjoyed having you on the show.
Yeah, that's been lovely. I dip into the Discord every so often and read it, and I'm genuinely warmed. Because none of those bastards on the Isle of Wight tell me that. My dad doesn't even listen to my bloody breakfast show, and he's in the car.
If there's any consolation, I don't listen to Sean's.
It is early, though.
I don't know where. I couldn't tell you where, if we've got a radio in the house, where it is.
It's a great advert for the medium.
I mean, like every radio station's kind of on a computer now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that one don't wash anymore. Anyway, we'll move back to Alpine. Yeah, they are. I don't know. Schrodinger's team. They're both good and crap at the same time, and neither.
I think they're just underwhelming, aren't they? They're like low budget Ferrari. Like where Ferrari managed to do less with what they have, Alpine also do less with what they have, but they're starting from a lower point.
2 decent drivers, not the best equipment, and two drivers who can be brilliant or crap.
Well, the problem with them is there's no team leader there, and I think every team kind of needs that like backbone driver. And what they've got is they've got 2 B tier B drivers.
Yeah, I think Ocon's been better this year than a lot of the times he's been in Formula One.
Yeah,
for various teams.
I thought they'd hit each other more on track this year.
Yeah.
Well, I mean that's what usually comes with the BWT sponsorship.
Yeah, and Esteban Ocon.
Yeah,
yeah,
and in turn Pierre Gasly. So, yeah, it was the perfect storm, and yeah, well they played total wipeout in Australia, didn't they?
Yeah, but everyone did.
Yeah, true.
Well, actually, no, that's not strictly true. Nick De Vries went car bowling.
Yeah.
Sure, I've seen that on an episode of Top Gear.
Yeah. I'm slightly worried about Alpine because they're now in no man's land. They're not the top 4 teams. They're not the bottom 3 teams, but they're surely better than McLaren and Haas. Well, it might not be. It might be that they're worse than McLaren, and Haas definitely in qualifying they could end up being just as bad as them. So in my mind, Alpine are now in the position we've seen a couple of times before with Lotus and Renault of, well, what is there for you here? Apart from the fact that Ryan Reynolds and the other one, Rob McEl, they're now in it together.
Shane Van Gisbergen.
Sean, Mr. Jizman, yeah, those guys are now in. You know, they are the big names behind Alpine. They're as big as the drivers now, I'm guessing.
Do you think they're struggling from like single engine manufacturer syndrome?
It can't help.
Because they've just got their data and that's it.
Really good point. No one's developed. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I did point that out as a worry when McLaren moved back to Mercedes, that it was going to harm Alpine because, Renault as it was at the time, because it was before. I think it was the year before they changed the name. And yeah, I think that is the case because every other engine supplier's got something else to work on.
Yeah, but who takes an Alpine engine? Sauber Audi won't. I can't see Alfa Romeo moving away from Ferrari for obvious reasons.
Well, no, because Alfa Romeo are Sauber Audi.
Yeah.
But even when,
Aston Martin are going Honda.
Yeah, if that moves over to Haas, it's just business as usual, isn't it? They're just going to repaint the car.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, that's what I meant. Haas, not Alpha. Yeah. Yeah, I think I smell trouble. I don't like it.
I mean, the only thing is, if they've sold part of the team, then it's obviously going to be less of a financial burden for the team to stay in Formula One. Given like the budget cap and stuff, I don't quite see them like leaving the sport like they have done in the past
repeatedly.
Yeah, I do question the logic behind the rebrand to Alpine. If I'm honest, I think it's a case of it's their performance mark, isn't it? You know, it's like Red Bull were when they had the Renault engines, they were pushing Infinity. You know, that was the performance tie-up between Renault and Nissan until Carlos Ghosn went and hid in a large cello case. But it just feels like the wrong focus. You know, like what we're going to do, we're just going to rename the team and paint it a different colour. Like, all right, okay. What about performance? No, we can work on that later.
Yeah, because I mean, the Mercedes team is there to shift, AMG tuned cars.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Ferrari aren't plugging Fiats.
No, that's true.
Yeah, there's very few people rock up at Reading and Leeds next month in their Fiat 500s going, well, actually, I've got a soft spot for the 1979 Jody Scheckter Ferrari, and that's why I bought a Fiat 500. The Alpine are a functioning unit, I guess, because they have to be. Because I can't see this actually selling Alpines in the world. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I live in the UK and I don't see an Alpine very often. Maybe in France, Ocon is basically a rock star and they're all shifting Alpines. But I don't see it. I don't understand it.
I mean, it's the whole Team France thing, isn't it? They've got two French drivers. They've got the premium French car mark, and sponsored by an Austrian water company. But apart from that,
and aren't France doing well at the moment? So that's nice.
Yeah, I mean, you look at their streets. It looks like F1 Twitter.
Oof. Yikes.
Let's move swiftly on.
Move swiftly on for impending civil war.
Yeah.
I take that back, honey. I'm now free every Monday night.
We now can't go to France.
No.
Cross it off.
No, it's fine because worryingly, hasn't fucking Macron turned the fucking internet off for people?
No.
Well, I had a total of 2.5 hours flight delays outward and return because of French air traffic control, and I was only going from the Isle of Man to Manchester this weekend.
Jesus.
I can't be banned from France. I'm halfway there.
Right. Should we do
the bright side? You're also halfway back.
Yeah, true.
Should we do Mercedes next?
Yes,
because we've done half of Aston Martin, which was next up in the final standings. But we'll get to the Alonso part later. But if we do Mercedes, seventh and eighth eventually,
with a driver swap.
Yes, because it was seventh and eighth before. George Russell, one of the only two drivers not to even get looked at for going off track. And Lewis Hamilton getting hit with penalty after penalty.
I've been reliably informed by Twitter that is a conspiracy against Lewis Hamilton. And not only was George Russell going off track every lap, he also used several blue shells.
Well, if he used blue shells, Max managed to avoid them well. That's all I can say. Yeah, the Mercedes has upgrades, but they didn't appear to do a great deal this week.
No, they were talked up as well, weren't they? I mean, didn't Toto say that they were like one upgrade away from being contending for wins again?
What is it, a jet engine?
I don't know. I mean, they're not going to win a race this year, are they?
I wouldn't have thought so. I mean,
I reckon they might have a stab at Brazil. I don't know how that track works for them, but it seems to.
It's one of Lewis's stronger tracks.
My bold prediction at the beginning of the year, which I'm sticking by, is that we've seen Lewis Hamilton win his last race already.
I mean, that is bold.
I can't believe his last race win was Jeddah, wasn't it?
Crazy, isn't it? Crazy.
Yeah. Has he won his last race? I don't know. Well, no one knows, I guess. But if he wins a race this year, I think it would, or if the Mercedes at all, whether it's him or Russell do, I reckon it's Brazil. I don't think they stand a chance anywhere else without shenanigans.
Yeah, even Brazil, I think fuckery needs to be abound.
Yeah, because the Red Bull this year is much more on it than last year.
Mm-hmm.
I just get the feeling we're going to see a Red Bull clean sweep of the season.
Without mechanical failures. The only thing I would say is that Perez needs to get properly back on board, because you have to think at some point this year Max has to have a failure of some point.
Yeah.
So if Perez is having one of his off days, then you're going to get somebody else win a race.
Well, yeah. I mean, you look at this weekend, and Perez was absolutely pantsed in qualifying.
Yeah.
and he ended up with a podium.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, he drove really well. Actually, I didn't expect
all
that
right,
from him.
shenanigans.
But still, he
little
drove a
bit.
good race.
Yeah, you can't say the same of either Lewis or George, really. George wasn't all out quick like he has been when Lewis is a bit down in the dumps, and Lewis was quite a bit down in the dumps. You would have to say both of those were technically schooled by Perez, who isn't the best driver in that car.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because if you look at the crossing the line order, George was 8th over the line in both races.
Mm.
Yeah,
it makes you wonder, doesn't it? I mean, because you've got to call a spade a small shovel, haven't you? And the fact that
Not if you're Ron Dennis.
you're
It's a flat-bladed, wooden-handled, earth-moving manual device.
it's the more you went off track is the more you cheated. They were the rules. You were penalised. So it's such a squirrely thing because you just look and you go, oh well, they shouldn't have been there because everyone else got penalties. Well, everyone else got penalties because they were cheating more. So all of a sudden, if you take all of those offs and make people have to drive within the rules, is that still the order things finish in?
Well, George stuck perfectly to the rules all race and got 7th, but he was still 48 seconds behind Max.
Yeah.
yeah,
On such a short circuit as well.
Yeah.
yeah. That's basically 7/10 a lap, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it's pretty depressing. On the when are we going to get another car challenging at the front? It's pretty depressing viewing this weekend from that respect.
Yeah, the thing is though, that's Formula One, isn't it? That's what you get.
Oh yeah. Look, it's and I don't think we should be doing anything to mess about with that. Red Bull did a great job. They've just done a better job than everybody else. No one saw the headroom that they obviously saw, when they were doing the simulator work. Ferrari thought they were going to be challenging for world championships this year. They thought they'd absolutely nailed it.
Yeah.
So, is this the last year of Lewis's contract?
Yes. Yeah, because it was only a 1-year extension that he signed last year, wasn't it?
Yeah. He'll hang around for next year.
Do you think he hangs around with Mercedes, or do you think he goes to Ferrari?
I think he'll go to Mercedes. Don't forget, he's never driven a non-Mercedes powered F1 car.
Yeah, and Ferrari and Lewis, I think, are quite incompatible.
But they are offering fat stacks for him to go there. Isn't it like 47 million a year he's been offered?
Yeah,
The rumour's something like that. The problem is, how would they cope with Lewis? Because, he's got very, how do you put it, defined feelings of how things should go when he's mid-race. As we've heard quite a lot. And we got Whingy Lewis this weekend.
I think you could also argue that he's got quite defined parameters that how he sees his life outside of Formula One as well. That might not mold particularly well with Ferrari. There's lots of Ferrari drivers are expected to do lots of engagements. For instance, there's a lot of PR work that goes with being a Ferrari driver. So it depends how much they want him. I think that's the thing.
Yeah, because Ferrari would have to break the wage structure and their culture.
Yeah,
to bring him in, because you don't see Ferrari drivers as celebrities that turn up at.
Schumacher is a celebrity.
Schumacher was a celebrity, but he was always a Ferrari man.
Yeah, but I think the only reason you don't see Ferrari drivers as celebrities is just because Ferrari. I think if they were more on it and winning world championships, it might be different.
You never saw Schumacher turn up at the Met Gala There was never.
Oh no, yeah,
there was.
It's because he's not in the cult.
There were never any rumors. Everyone was in the 70s. Everyone was waiting for Nikki Lauda's album to drop. They paid good money to hear it.
Yeah, I now am.
Yeah. It's craft work, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be the most technically efficient album ever made.
Yeah.
Actually, no, it'll make Kraftwerk sound like Napalm Death. One more on the potential titles list.
Yeah. There's no celebrities there. You've got a bit of I guess this is because Ferrari's marketing has got slightly better over the last couple of years. Mm. You've got a better outlook for Leclerc and Sainz than you did Vettel and Kimi, because Vettel and Kimi were very much official, quite formal, not really wanting to be in the public eye, whereas Leclerc and Sainz are sort of the 17-year-old F1 fans' dream, aren't they? They attract the younger generation quite well. Because they both seem like quite likable guys. Sorry, Lee, even Leclerc, but they're not galvanizing a whole image at Ferrari which says, "Hey, we're all aboard the banter bus." Whereas Lewis can be a bit of a laugh, but also a very private person.
Yeah,
I mean, I think. This is one area where I think Ferrari are definitely missing out, because we've said all along, it's the usual joke. Ferrari are in F1 to sell Ferrari branded lifestyle products. I make no bones about the fact I've nicked this from Top Gear and I've expanded on it. And yet they're not pushing the lifestyle with the drivers they've got. But the problem is Lewis has got that many other irons in the fire, side gigs, merch deals, lifestyle brands tied to him, that it would probably cost him money to go to Ferrari, because he'd have to sever relationships with all of those and be seen in the right places in a set of Ferrari cufflinks.
Yeah. And that's the thing, though. I think Ferrari would have to make concessions.
Oh, massively.
But I think it might be worth it for them.
They would have to make more concessions than their number 2 driver when he's leading the race with 2 laps to go.
But I think it would be worth, if they wanted to get back that, like to build the dream team again, because that's kind of what they're missing at the moment, isn't it? There's that vibe of them trying to build back to where they were. And I don't think I just don't see Sainz or Leclerc as world champions unless they get like the greatest car.
The problem is, for them to rebuild the dream team in the same way that they did it in the first place would mean going cap in hand with a massive apology to James Allison, and he would tell them where to put the cap.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I get what you mean, but there's other teams that are building decent Formula One cars. There's going to be other people that even in the Ferrari line. Ferrari have built a good car this year. Let's be honest.
Oh yeah. They built a good car. They just don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, exactly that.
Their issues I think more within the team, and maybe a little bit of Lewis Hamilton sass when things are going wrong is exactly what they need.
Well, look at the amount of sass that Carlos Sainz has been giving them during the race, and he ends up getting...
Yeah, but he's doing it in a Carlos Sainz way, isn't he? It's not like...
Well, I don't know, because, last year it certainly worked when he called him out on the bullshit at Silverstone, and what happened there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fair.
Now he's calling him out on it again, because it's worked for him once, and they're just saying... No, don't fight. Hold position. When he was blatantly faster.
Yeah, that was stupid. Like I don't think he would have had the pace to go after Max in a racing scenario. But also, if they hadn't put him in the position he was in, I don't think he goes off track enough to get a penalty either. So, at least he'd have been there had something gone wrong. And I know what they did was like Leclerc was essentially there in the end if something had gone wrong. But Leclerc was there in the process of them sacrificing Carlos Sainz.
Yeah.
They didn't need to park Sainz as quickly as they did. They should have, if they didn't want to let them fight, then they should have let Sainz have a crack at getting off in the distance, and they would have had a 2-3 this weekend.
Yeah.
Instead, they're walking away with a 2-4 on track, but in reality, a 2-6.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ferrari have cocked up massively by divering and going, what to do? What do we do? Don't fight. It's not enough.
Is it because they think too highly of Charles Leclerc?
I think a tiny bit, maybe. I reckon if that's the other way round, they might be saying don't fight, but secretly thinking could do with Charles getting past here.
Yeah.
But what they do, I mean, Charles, 147 points behind Max, and that's got to be about 60, 70 points behind Checo and Fernando. So what are they looking to gain from this experiment? Congratulations.
Makes no sense.
You're second in this race. You're closer to your teammate, who's still fifth in the championship. There's no logical win for Ferrari. It doesn't make any sense to do this sort of thing. So you're not going to win the race. You might get a podium. You could battle and look silly if they come together, but at the same time, at least you can turn around to two highly qualified drivers and say, look, we didn't cock that up. We let you battle and you hit each other. Or you put Sainz through and try for a better result. Sainz was clearly the better driver this weekend.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's Ferrari doing Ferrari things, like you're saying.
Yeah, they just struggle to be able to do anything on the fly. Do they get their full race plan on a Thursday, and everything is done to that plan until the checker flag drops on Sunday? And if anything deviates from that, they just completely lose the shit.
Maybe
you wouldn't want them organising a stag do.
I mean, maybe it was.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I once went on a stag do where the best man tried to organise it that badly. The bride-to-be had to step in because we were doing the whiskey tour before the go-karting. He booked us into the wrong Premier Inn, which was £10 a night more, further out of Edinburgh city centre and didn't include breakfast. And then the only free time that we had left to do the moonlit ghost walk was Sunday morning.
Awesome.
I see no ghosts. It's 10 a.m.
Do you think you could argue that Ferrari have a hang-up from their old team orders? Do you think that's why they're they're hesitant to use it because of the hassle they've had in the past?
They're scared of being rock stars. They're playing it way too safe.
Yeah,
because the Ferrari motto is we build someone up and hope they're champion. We morally destroy the second driver. And they've sort of they haven't got 2 second drivers. I think you're if you were to flip a coin, you're more likely for it to land on Leclerc world champion than Sainz world champion. But at the moment, you're not even landing on either race winner when your car is probably the second best on the grid. Like you say, Paul, they don't know how to use it.
I can't remember who was the first team I heard this said about, but it's definitely works with Ferraris. They're a team that's forgotten how to win.
It was Flood that said it about Williams first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Williams' tactic was stay where we are, consolidate, and that way we don't move forward or move backwards. Shit, teams have got better. And that's what's happening in Ferrari. We're not going to win this champion. They said last year they had Leclerc 4 rounds in, 46 points ahead of Max. That to then lose it by nearly 100 is shocking.
Yeah, absolutely.
This year they are so far behind, but arguably you could say their car is better than last year's. It's just that Red Bull's car is way better. They're not accounting for the other teams being as good as them. And this year you've got 2 teams who are arguably as good as them. And God knows, in 3, 4, 5 races' time, if that McLaren upgrade is good, you could have Lando Norris knocking at your door saying, I want 7th place this week.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. They don't seem to have moved forward. And we'll have to wait, I think, until we get to Silverstone to see where Aston Martin are, because I do worry they've fallen backwards as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not the car we saw in the first 3 rounds, is it?
No, I don't think so. Unless this is being like real track specific, and it turns itself around. I think the dreams of the Aston Martin being there to pick up a win when things gone wrong, that window might be closing, if not closed already.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Silverstone's going to be an interesting one for Aston Martin because, Alonso does like certain aspects of the track, certainly the faster corners, and they suit him. Stroll, I think, is going to be an also-ran.
Yeah, probably.
And let's see what McLaren bring. I think we've just kind of sort of mushed it into the top 4 teams now, haven't we?
Yeah. It feels like it's really a mushy podcast. This just because it's so weird the way that the teams actually, like the way the race ran out.
Just want to point out that I actually missed all the penalties coming through. I only found out about all this when we landed. And I switched my phone on, and I got that many alerts. The whole plane was looking at me going, someone's popular. Not as bad as one time we were going away for the weekend, and we started on the final approach to Manchester, and we found out that some bloke sat 2 rows in front of us hadn't turned his phone off for the entirety of the flight, and it started ringing. And his ringtone was a duck.
Incredible.
So you could hear the landing gear come down and whack, 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 whack. Anyway, moving swiftly on. Silverstone is going to be interesting because of what McLaren are saying that they've come up with. And if McLaren are going to want to show that they've got upgrades, that is the track to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's their home fast track.
I believe McLaren have already said they don't expect that car to suit the Silverstone, and that was one of the reasons why they wanted to maximise this weekend, because they didn't think they were going to have a good race.
They've probably done the right thing there.
Yeah,
they've already got the biggest downgrade of a new livery.
Yeah, Chrome needs an update, unsurprisingly. What do you do about the Piastri situation? Because he's struggling, isn't he?
Well, he got a bit boffed this weekend. He lost his front wing, didn't he, this weekend? But he wasn't exactly moving forward like Lando had. Yeah, I don't know.
He has moments, doesn't he? There's moments where he looks good, but he doesn't. The question would be: would Daniel Ricciardo have done better?
No,
I don't think so.
So who then is left on the table for picking up?
Yeah.
Hulk? Would Hulk have done better? Maybe not. Maybe Lando, is that far ahead.
Yeah. Where I'm going with.
Don't forget, a lot of the problem with Piastri is the pressure that was on him just because of the way that he joined the team, or the way that his joining the team was announced.
Yeah, and ironically, if McLaren do end up in a ding-dong battle for 5th place in the constructors this year again with Alpine, the great irony will be Piastri going to McLaren could end up getting 5th place for Alpine, because it could end up that Ocon and Gasly collectively are better than Lando and Oscar. Which would be a shame, because I think Piastri is probably a very good driver. We're just not seeing enough of it right now. He's inexperienced.
I don't think his seat's in any
no.
Oh, there's no threat there whatsoever. I think a lot of the problem for F1 debutants is all down to Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
Because when he came into Toro Rosso, we knew he was quick from the off. And proved it. And then he got moved up to Red Bull sooner than everyone was expecting him to, and he won his first race there. And there hasn't been anyone made their debut since him that has made that much of an impression.
No, I actually think it's what's his name? Sebastian Vettel. You can thank for that. I think it's he kind of pushed the youth movement of getting younger and younger drivers into Formula One. And I think it was Vettel that kicked off the Toro Rosso meat grinder, because Red Bull found this guy, that they shipped off to BMW, and then he got him back into the fold with Red Bull, and then they constantly searched for the next Sebastian Vettel.
Mm-hmm. And they're not finding it.
No.
Yeah, they've been lucky that they have found Max.
Yeah. And realistically, they didn't even find Max because he didn't come through the Red Bull program, did he? They bought into him when he was essentially being punted about the paddock by his father. They just happened to
possibly
pick him up.
physically when he had a bad race.
Yeah, he was off the shop floor, wasn't he? He's not someone that they've grown.
Yeah.
And I had a point there, and I've forgotten entirely what it was. Without Max, you could still be looking at Daniel Ricciardo, Daniel Kvyat into the late 2010s. Maybe you would have had someone like a Jean-Eric Vergne go further. Maybe you would have had a Carlos Sainz end up in the main Red Bull team. But right now, you're not looking at that too far ahead, are you?
No, and you can't argue with it. To be fair, it's the.
But the problem is now every team is looking for their Max.
Yep.
And if somebody young, or in the case of Nick De Vries, someone making their debut, doesn't do it straight away, what's the point of him even being there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're going to end up losing Nick De Vries probably by the summer break, I would have thought.
I think so.
Wasn't his best. We're now looking at Liam Lawson.
It would be terrible if the Red Bull organisation got rid of De Vries over the summer break, because the first race after this year isn't Belgium, it's Holland.
It's going to happen though. I think because realistically, for all of the complaint about the meat grinder, I can't think of somebody over half a season that's actually deserved to be meat ground as much.
No, arguably not.
Not in a Red Bull branded car.
No.
Certainly, there's been some others. It's like, what the hell are they doing there? Rio Haryanto.
Yeah.
He didn't even make a full season because it was that bad his sponsors stopped paying.
Mm. Well, he was sponsored by the Indonesian government, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Because Alexander Rossi had basically got that seat sealed, and then he turned around and said, "I can't compete within the Indonesian government." It would be a shame if they got rid of Nick De Vries. Maybe they won't get rid of him after the summer break. Maybe they'll give him Holland and Monza, and then not give him his flight ticket to Singapore.
No, I think if they do it after the summer break, if they do it for the summer break, that means that they can decide after the last race, and they can have they can begin the best they can in preparation wise to get somebody ready. Because obviously they can't have somebody working at the factory, but if they don't announce who's going to replace him until startup, then essentially that guy can do all of the homework he needs to do.
Be it Danny Rick, be it Liam Lawson.
I'd be tempted to let Daniel Ricciardo go in over Lawson. I think that coming in halfway through the season like that would be a recipe to make another De Vries.
I mean, when did they do the massive switcheroo with Kvyat and Gasly? That was Malaysia. So that was 3 races after the summer break.
Yeah,
because Kvyat had the summer break, did Belgium, Italy, Singapore, and then Malaysia was where the dicking about started.
Mm-hmm.
Singapore was Jolyon Palmer's last race, which Sainz went to. Yeah.
So
I would probably rather put in a Danny Rick and give him 7 races in that.
Japan was Palmer's last race.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I will take that back.
I've got it in front. I've got the Wikipedia page in front of me here. So
yeah.
It also makes sense sticking Ricciardo in that car if there is even the slightest chance that inside Red Bull they're not working well with Checo.
Yeah. Because then you can promote Danny Rick and Liam Lawson isn't out of the question. You let him carry on his Super Formula season, whatever he's doing at the moment.
I think he's in Super Formula, and I think by all accounts he's doing pretty well.
Yeah, it's also less of a risk as well if you let Ricciardo have a go in the Toro Rosso first especially against like Tsunoda, because otherwise you are kind of you're taking a gamble on Ricciardo if you put him straight back into Red Bull, because if his last go in Formula One in a real car hasn't been great, and you're just hoping, oh well, that was a blip, and the simulator works going well, so this is going to work now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Lawson is currently second in Super Formula after 5 races with 2 wins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And of course,
he's just
Super Formula
into that, isn't he?
Yeah, Super Formula power-wise is actually a step up from F2.
God, if Ricciardo does make his way back into Formula One, it is definitely the time to be an Aussie Formula One fan, isn't it?
Oh God, yeah. Will it happen? I mean, firing a driver is something you can never put past Helmut Marko doing.
No.
And
I think it's nailed on. I think it's absolutely nailed on that.
I think he was with him doing press last week, and even quoting Horner. I think he was laying the groundwork for it to happen. And I think it's a slightly shady way of doing it, sort of, giving him his final verbal warning in public. Effectively,
yeah, but the guys were
thoroughly
underperformed. Thoroughly underperformed. I think there's only so much mollycoddling that can go on with these in that situation.
He's not done what he needed to do. What he needed to do was to be alongside Tsunoda to grab points when points were available on the day, and he's not done that. And we've seen that he can win points. We've seen that he can win the Formula E. We can see that he's very good animated in a McLaren cartoon. He's done all the things that he needed to do up to the point where he joined the team, and he hasn't done the things that they thought he'd do.
Well, he's now on his second consecutive race where he's been penalised for shoving somebody off track.
Oh, God, yeah.
It's not ideal.
Yeah, the same guy as well, Magnussen.
Yeah.
Both times. Yeah, he's... We're going to enjoy this, Holland. This is the last 3 races of the season, maybe more, that you're going to have 2 Dutch drivers in Formula One.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, as far as 99.999% of Dutch fans are concerned, they've only got 1 driver in Formula One.
Yeah.
I've not heard many people singing Nick, Nick, Super Nick.
These are facts.
They sing that in Liverpool quite often, though.
I only know one Dutch F1 fan, Baz Verbeek, if you're listening, which I assume you are, seeing as
Did you just say his name's Baz the Beak?
Verbeek.
Oh, right.
Okay. I assume he's listening, seeing as he's a regular on Discord. And
That's the beak.
Don't judge. No? All right. Baz, if you can drop us a line on Discord and just tell us what people in Holland think of Nick de Vries, because we just can't find it anywhere. God, what? Right. Ferrari. Yeah, we've already talked about how they've screwed up.
Yeah.
What they did to screw up. I don't think there's much more you can say.
No, they'll have better weekends, but that was quite a good one, all things considered.
I mean, chances are with Ferrari that we'll have worse weekends as well, because it's what they do.
It's one of those things being a Ferrari fan, it's going to get worse before it gets worse.
I know Ferrari fans that have supported them through thin and thinner. So
Silverstone was the last race they won, wasn't it, with Sainz?
Yeah.
They haven't
Yeah.
won a race since then. Leclerc, Austria was the last race, but Leclerc won. Obviously, Sainz caught fire that weekend. So we're now going to come up to a calendar year without Ferrari winning a race. We've done it before. 2020 was crap and all that. The problem is they should be a lot better by now. This hasn't. Okay, so Leclerc finished second this weekend, but the second Red Bull driver started 15th, and essentially you let Leclerc get away because you didn't let the faster driver go ahead. That's my Ferrari summary, really.
I mean, that, to be honest, is the definition of Ferrariing it up.
Yeah, they absolutely Ferrari'd it.
Yeah, they got it wrong, and because they got it wrong, they could have done things a lot better. But they still came out average.
Yeah.
It's what they do and how they do it. So that just leaves the all-powerful, all-conquering Red Bull and possibly the biggest FU to Checo under the sun. Yeah, Max going for that fastest lap when Checo had it at the time.
Oh, it's the peak shithousery.
I mean,
it's fantastic.
How petty is it to take 1 point away from your teammate when you are already...
To be fair...
60 points at the time ahead, 60, 70 points ahead at the time of the championship?
I'm gonna stick up for Max here. Max was cheated out of a pole, or at least to go to a pole at Monaco, and it does, for all intents and purposes, look like Checo crashed on purpose. That's out of order. And like the sprint race, this bullshit of Perez saying, "Oh, I didn't know he was alongside me." Well, he wasn't on the other side of you.
Yeah.
So where do you expect him to be? And it's he clearly shoved him off the track on purpose. So that relationship is it's really going to sour, but it's going to sour in a really bitchy way because unlike when it was like Hamilton and Rosberg, like they were coming together on track an awful lot. The only time Max and Perez see each other is on like lap 1, turn 1, isn't it?
Yeah, see you on the podium. There's also that whole thing with Perez because he said, I didn't see him, and then we climbed up the hill and I gave him the position back. Oh, time out here, Checo. Did you not see him, or did you give him the place back?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see myself be a bastard to him, but I guessed I did, so I let him through. That doesn't make sense.
No.
We're seeing the whole thing. Elephants never forget, right? Max does not forget.
No.
The whole thing that happened at Monaco last year, where he ended up qualifying fourth and Checo was third because Checo decided to biff it into the wall. If he didn't forget about 12 rounds later in Brazil, he's not going to forget. All of this is not going to be forgotten.
No, not at all. And I'm sure there's plenty of people don't want to hear this, but I do think, although absolutely on the edge of what is acceptable, Max Verstappen driving style. He takes a car right to the limit, but especially these days, he's not really having like what you'd say terrible things happen when he's pushing it. So I do think he's quite a fair driver, and I don't I don't even think Max would have done, apart from with maybe Lewis Hamilton. Max and Lewis race each other, I think, over the edge, both of them. I don't think if the roles were reversed, I don't think Max Verstappen shoves Perez off the track like he did.
No,
I think he crowds him, and I don't think he gives him a lot of room, but I don't think he puts him in the position to have an accident with him.
No, I agree. They're not evil.
Max's driving style used to be more aggressive than it was. It's still within the bounds of legality and fairness. And it was just, okay, you want to go for it? Well, if you do, one of us is crashing and it's probably not going to be me.
Yeah, I think it's also fair to point out that whenever Max has raced other people, it's always been pretty respectful. It just seems to be him and Lewis that crashed into each other a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, him and Lando didn't have those things when he was coming through the field, and
No.
yeah, there's clearly a vitriol between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's a different case with Checo. The reason Max is probably not as vicious with Checo is because, Sergio, I'm better than you, essentially, whereas Max was probably concerned with Lewis that it could cost him a title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if Max fights Checo too hard, there's a potential for it costing 2 titles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I also think there's like you say, as far as the class golf goes, he probably knows if like what happened at the sprint race, even if Checo gets ahead of him, he'll just overtake him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Max in that Red Bull is one of the best examples of driver completely in tune with the car that we've ever seen this season, I think.
Mm-hmm. And I think Perez is doing a really good job of showing how good Max is, and there it's not all car.
Yeah. 4 Q2 exits in a row, or 4 non-Q3s in a row. That's not good. You know, Hulkenberg has made Q3 more times this year than Checo.
Yeah.
It's not a good trait for when you're driving the other bloke in the thing is being complained about because it's so boring he's winning all the time.
Mm.
Yeah, well, if you want to stop that, do as well as he does.
Get better. Yeah.
Get good.
So, Lando won driver of the day, which I think that's fair. You know, he had a bloody good race.
He kept it within the white lines.
Yeah, and he always does. He always does well in Austria. He says it's his favourite circuit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and rock stars and wankers.
Well,
let me just jump onto Discord, and I will find the suggestions that we've got. If I scroll back, our good old mate Wings Triumphant has given us the definitive list from all the research from people chatting on Discord. Okay, so Rockstars, Red Bull for a dominating drive and a fantastic comeback drive.
Yeah.
Ferrari and Leclerc, good strategy and race pace in the car.
Excuse me?
Well, they did a good strategy for Leclerc. They just screwed things up for Carlos. Lando for hauling the McLaren up all the way up there and keeping it clean.
Yeah.
Aston, I don't think he hauled that car up there. You know, he had the upgrades. That car was genuinely quick.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said quick like that. But there you go.
Aston Martin for a protest that did them a favour, because of course it was the Aston Martin protest after the race that brought out all the extra penalties.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't actually look. What did it do for Aston Martin in the end?
It put Alonso up to 5th from 6th and Stroll up to 9th from 10th. So it's given them 3 extra points.
So net winners in the end, then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that did work.
And in a tight second place constructors battle, those 3 points are not just 3 points for you; it's less points for others, I guess, isn't it?
Wanker list. Hamilton for his hissy fit about the car and track limits.
Yeah,
that sounds fair.
Yeah.
Ocon for managing to get 30 seconds worth of penalties.
Yeah. Is this Rockstar or Wanker?
This is Wanker we're on now.
Right, because I mean I'm quite impressed, if I'm honest.
Yeah, sometimes you go so far around Wanker it becomes Rockstar again.
So Gene Simmons.
Yeah,
both Rockstar and Wanker.
The Gene Simmons Award.
Oh, that could be a new thing. I feel maybe that should be, because we've always talked about doing like awards at the end of the year, haven't we? Maybe we could have like an honorary Gene Simmons award
for the wankiest rock star.
Yeah.
Where were we? Sainz for getting a penalty that cost him P4, and also that he was intimidating me so much.
Yeah, I don't know. He's borderline. It's the problem is his good driving has sort of outbalanced his bad stuff. So it almost feels like it's flat at that point. For those specific cases, you'd say yes, but for a lot of the weekend, he was just very good.
Yeah.
Every driver that got time penalties for track limits, to be honest, stay within the damn white lines. It's your job.
I agree.
Yeah.
Should we say the stewards for basically relying on teams telling on each other to actually police the track limits?
Yeah, but that's the thing though. When you had how many track limit things did you say we had?
1,200.
How do you keep up with that? Like, you've got 4 stewards, and I'm always the one that moans that they need to do penalties quicker. Yeah, but they need to do penalties quicker, and it's like nobody wants to see somebody dragged off a podium because of penalties applied afterwards. But there is no way that you could keep up with the penalties that were being thrown at those people.
Yeah,
like that must have been such a hectic day's work.
Yeah, I mean the final classification came out at no, that's a provision. So the provisional classification came out at 4:55 local time. Okay. The final classification came out at 9:45. So yeah, it's 3 hours of extra work. At 9:26, they issued the document with 83 laps being deleted.
It's just crazy, isn't it? Absolutely crazy.
It's too much.
You know, if they're going to enforce track limits that tight, then flag it up instantly. You know, as soon as you've done it, you've done it.
It's they're gonna have to do like sausage curbs or something, aren't they? There,
stick a gravel trap in. It's what the FIA want.
I think stick a gravel trap there. That makes all the sense in the world. All landmines.
Don't think Helmut Marko hasn't thought that.
I know Bernie Eccleston.
Or
Bernie.
Hulk's car as well in the wanker list. For the blow-up during the race.
Yeah. He deserved some points, didn't he, if he could have got them? He
was rapid in qualifying, he was rapid in the sprint, and then the car let him down on the day.
Yeah. Driver, like, completely reborn, isn't he?
Yeah. Also, from the collection on the list, Johnny Bairstow's been nominated for a wanker, but I don't think so.
Who's that?
Cricketer.
Oh, I have no idea. No idea about.
He was involved in a controversial wicket decision.
Dozy, you could say he's a bit dim, but I wouldn't call him a wanker. I'm not going to do this again.
No,
come in, stub your toe at every opportunity, please.
Someone needs to break into his house and sprinkle Lego on the route between his bed and the bathroom.
Yeah, I won't buy a pint of milk and get no change back.
Do you know what you could wish on him? Is I went to McDonald's the other day, and me and my friend got a McDonald's, oddly enough, and she didn't get a burger in her cheeseburger.
What?
all the accompaniments came with it, but yeah, no meat.
God.
I did argue that that's probably the same amount of meat that's in a fully laden burger from McDonald's, but there you go.
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
Can I give one more rock star?
Yeah, by all means.
Red Bull, not just because they dominated the race, but because they actually did a rock star thing. They had a 24-second lead or whatever it was, and they went, sod it, we'll take the risk, we'll pit, and we'll get 1 extra point. You could say it's a bit of a wanker motive, but I would say there's not many rock stars who don't get the title of being rock star for doing safe things. They do it because they've done extraordinary mad shit.
They already had the extra point though, because Checo had the fastest lap at that point.
Oh yeah, good point.
Which is why I was saying going for that fastest lap was the ultimate fuck you to Checo. I mean, I've got 6 more Rockstar nominations after Friday, which is every member of Iron Maiden, because they were excellent live. And if you get a chance to go see them, sell a kidney to get a ticket. It's worth it.
Yeah.
Right then. So, Silverstone this weekend. Are we going to bother with predictions? Because, I mean, who's coming second and third?
I think this is going to be a return to form for Aston Martin.
Yeah, I think we'll see. I think we'll see a Fernando podium this week again.
I'm going to go the win. I'm going to say this is the one. This is the race.
I still think it's going to be a Red Bull clean sweep the entire season.
Yeah.
I think we'll get a Mercedes in the top 5.
Yeah, probably.
Okay,
that sounds good.
I was about to put Russell on the podium.
That's still in the top 5.
See, I'm wondering at what point Max and Perez are going to come together.
It'd have to be on an early lap.
It'd have to be on an early corner. It'd have to be on the formation lap, probably.
Well, would it? If Checo carries on qualifying the way he does, they're not going to see each other between the briefing room and the podium.
Yeah,
he'd have to Dan Ticktum it, wouldn't he?
It's good to know. Good to know he's still being his usual Gene Simmons in Formula E.
Yeah,
I love the man. I fucking love the man.
His race engineers don't.
No, they're pricks. He's fine.
I mean, Dan Ticktum's line of the season so far was, "Book me my taxi for 10 minutes after I cross the line. I want out of here now." Do I have to get weighed?
If you want to talk about rock star moves, that is one.
Well, no, if he was a true rock star, he'd already had the limo waiting for him with the engine running. You wouldn't tell someone to phone you an Uber. Your assistant would already know.
Get me out of here as soon as possible. My car is clamped outside Planet Sushi in Monaco.
No,
that actually happened.
I'm
just out of context.
Oh, yeah, we remember it well.
Yeah, good. Just making sure. Yeah, I'm gonna say Max wins it, Leclerc second, Alonso third. Alonso second, Leclerc third. I'll say that.
So not a George Russell podium.
No, George Russell 7th. Sorry, George, I've really downgraded you there.
That's a huge podium. It's like one they use in the Olympic basketball where they can get like 15 people on it. Yeah. Max win definitely. Alonso second, and Checo third.
I just want it to be interesting, so I'm going to say Alonso win, George Russell second, Lewis Hamilton third.
If you want to do your own predictions, then we've got the Prediction League on the website. Just go to threelegsfourwheels.com and go to the game section, and you put in your top 5, pole, fastest lap, will there be a safety car, and how many DNFs. And I will get I will have the Austria results updated by the time you do that tomorrow, or in your time today. Oh, got a breaking time again. Because I'd not done it at the point of recording, because I've been asleep all day because I had a knackering weekend. Not as young as I used to be. If you want to get in touch, then old school email 3legs4wheels@gmail.com, at 3legs4wheels on all the socials, and individually on Twitter we are
oh god, go on.
Sorry, I didn't want to go last again, Lee.
No, go on. I'm fine.
At Kieran is boring.
I'm at the Lee Stevens.
You keep changing your Twitter handle. It gets very confusing.
Yeah, I'm not changing now. That's how I'm trying to streamline my social media presence.
Oh, you've been telling you can tell you've been hanging out with Americans. I'm at Pablo100. Chris is at Flood21, and Sean is at Sean Cowper. Right. All being well, with the wind in the right direction, we will be back next week, and we'll see what the hell happens at Silverstone. If you want to help us out, we did give the Patreon details earlier, but it's patreon.com/3legs4wheels and 1 currency unit a month, an internationally recognised currency unit, or even even 1 Bitcoin a month if you're feeling flush. You know,
I champion this idea.
I'm not a crypto bro, as you would say, but I think this is fantastic.
And if you want to take advantage of the Manscaped offer, it's 3L4W at checkout, 20% off and free shipping, and that will go to help us a long way.
Your balls will thank you.
Hey, that's their slogan.
Is it?
Yes.
It's incredible.
It's right. When you get your free sample kit, you open the box, and that's the first thing that you read on the inside of the lid.
Incredible. I will I will come and get them off you before the next podcast we do, and I promise to be down to wood and give a review.
Strangely,
no before and after pics, Lee.
Again.
Just look, I want to be thorough.
Strangely, when you take the lid off Pringles, it doesn't say the same.
No, it's you've popped.
Or the Dyson.
You've popped. They're a crisp. I think it's time to go. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.